you naturally, you got a way of communicating with people, getting them on track. Of asking people the hard questions gently, and even what we call no-oriented questions. Like I'm reading through the section where you guys are consulting with a company that's got a change in strategy that's disrupting the sales team. And you guys just flat out ask some of the people, the sales leaders, do you think the company wants you to fail? Do you think your CEO is trying to drive your salespeople out? Because that was their fear. If we make these changes, it's going to drive our salespeople out. So instead of seeking a yes, there's something about asking people a question where the answer is no that makes them confront reality. I wonder if you were even aware that you did that intentionally.
Well, yeah, I think through years and years of interacting with other human beings, I definitely found that it's what I call asking earnest questions, right? The earnest questions. And sometimes the earnest question reveals the truth to people. The answer reveals the truth to them, whereas I'm not telling them, hey, your boss doesn't want everyone to quit here. Instead of me telling them that, which doesn't land as well, when I ask them, hey, do you think that your boss wants everyone to leave the company? And they have to answer the question. And I do truly try and ask questions that are earnest questions. And I think that's where, we talk about humility being the most important characteristic of a leader. So if I see you doing something, Chris, and I'm suspect that it might not be the right thing, instead of me saying, hey, why'd you move left when you could have moved right? And what I'm doing is I'm asking an accusatory question. Instead, I'm going to say to myself, well, my assumption isn't that you're wrong and I'm right. My assumption is that you're right and I'm wrong. And so I'm going to say, hey, Chris, you moved left there instead of right. Can you explain why you did that to me just so I understand what was happening? And you might say, well, yeah, I looked to the right and I could see that there was enemy down there. And so my move was obviously to go to the left. And I go, oh, okay, great. I couldn't see the enemy from my position. Thanks for informing me. So asking earnest questions is a very important part for me of engaging in conversations and then listening. Again, when I talk about communication, everyone thinks I'm talking about talking. But when I talk about communication, I'm actually talking about listening, which is, to me, the most underrated skill in leadership is to shut your mouth and listen to what the other people have to say.
Yeah, I agree completely with you. I was talking with an executive not long ago. He's talking about deals that were falling apart due to miscommunication. And I said, is it miscommunication or is it mishearing? He said, yeah, it's absolutely mishearing.
Yeah, I was talking to a client the other day and they had some kind of a difficulty with this one individual. And then, I said, hey, you need to give him a call and have a conversation and move this thing forward. And he gets done with that call, calls me up. Yeah, I just had a conversation. We had a great conversation. And I said, what percentage of the conversation were you talking? And he immediately got quiet because I could hear in his voice, he was talking 90% of the time. And so that the individual he's having the conversation with isn't making any progress, isn't getting any of his thoughts out. It's actually moving backwards. Because, it's like when I call up, Chris, we got this problem. I want to tell you about what I think, and here's my view, and here's my perspective, and here's what I think we should do. And it's me, 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 me. And that doesn't progress our relationship at all. In fact, it moves it backwards. And you might nod your head like you're doing right now, but when I hang up the phone, you're shaking your head the other direction, side to side, and saying, Jocko doesn't listen to anything I say. I can't get a word in edgewise with that guy. His ego fills up the whole conversation.
Yeah, yeah. Or they got a confused look on their face. I don't know what the hell they talked about.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the other thing I like about that too, the thought process behind asking a question, we like to say intention has a smell. And if the intention behind your question is that you think you were probably wrong instead of I was right and you were wrong, that completely changed the way it lands with the other person.